positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, 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 not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
We're alive! Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Jake Flores. This is Pod Damn America, a podcast for idiots. Anders Lee is here.
Anders Lee here.
Alex Patak is here.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm Jake's friend. Thanks for listening to the show.
Let me tell you about my day yesterday. Right off the bat, I am out of jail. I'm at home with Kate and the kittens. I'm not terribly injured. Could have been worse. I don't know. Let's start from the beginning. So, the Black Lives Matter events are happening all over Brooklyn, and essentially all over everywhere, right? Essentially what's going on is that people are showing up to protest. The police are showing up and like drawing these imaginary lines. The first one I went to, they brought out the RoboCop voice that was like, "Attention, citizens." And this is how they say it. It's all backwards. They say, "You will not be arrested if you don't stand here." And then
that way it's a riddle.
Yeah. And then they force everyone to stand there. They say, "Okay, we're shutting this down." And then they just start forcing you out. They say, "Wow, you're violating the rules we set up." It's complete fucking bullshit. And that's when the pepper spray and the fucking mace and the billy clubs and shit start coming out. And, that happened the other night at Barclays. That was when that van got lit on fire afterwards. And I think
that was by Prospect Gardens, right?
Fort Greene.
Fort Greene.
Yeah.
So a lot of the neighborhoods in Brooklyn are just like, take two nice words. That's a street.
Yeah. Sunset Park.
Bushwick.
Yeah.
Coney Island.
You want to list any more?
That's all the neighborhoods in Brooklyn, actually. We ran out.
Green Point. They're all like this. You can say them all like this. So...
Sizzle Castle.
Not a real thing.
Find which one.
Bed-Stuy. Which is, they did that to Bed-Stuy because that's actually two really long words. And they had to...
And this is why we're out there in the streets. We've been living in this dichotomy for too long. We want single syllable neighborhood names. Okay, so so I think there was kind of an understanding that, this is probably going to continue. There's continued actions. Everyone's on the same page, right? So I went out yesterday to support, and talking about like the why here is a really important part of the story, because there is this stupid propaganda they're pushing through the goddamn libs right now that it's, this would be a nonviolent protest except for, people like me, essentially,
Right. White extremists.
Yeah. And
paid by the Kremlin.
It's very convenient for them to try to divide and conquer here, because you need white people at this shit. They serve a purpose. You're a fucking wall. You stand in the front while the cops push the line. I mean, it's like a fucking battle, dude. It is the closest thing to some Game of Thrones shit I've ever seen in my fucking life. And there were not enough white people out there. There was mostly black people. It was fucking crazy. And I don't know if that was, I don't know why that was. I'm worried it was because this fucking propaganda, but it also, there were people just out everywhere, and no one knew specifically that this intersection was going to be one of the ones that blew up real hard.
Is it just because it was a Flatbush protest and that's who lives there?
That's definitely part of it. And yeah, actually, you know what? I think that might be part of it, because I started off, because I'm staying in Park Slope right now. I went out on my bike, and the reason I think my bike is because, I wanted to be in the wall, but I also wanted to just take footage, because that's obviously a problem for the police. All of this happened when people started filming what they were doing, and this is what this whole thing catalyzed back in back at the start of smartphones and when they started killing people. Brett Erickson, this comedian, has this great joke. He's talking about how everyone young talks about eating ass, all these young comedians. He's like, eating ass is like police brutality. It's been around forever. There's just cameras on it now. Like, stops acting like it's a new thing. Very funny, right?
Very intellectual.
And like, as much as people want to, go off on that, like, posting is not praxis thing or whatever, like, you're just fucking tweeting. I stole a blue check mark from journalism as a concept, all right? I trolled them. I got one. People have to see my shit. Celebrities follow me and see my shit. I'm trying to fucking help, with that. And it's a thing that I have. So I figure, I'll go out and I'll just fucking take as much video as I can, take some pictures, fucking throw a few jokes in there, try and lighten things up,
Yeah.
But that was kind of the main tack, although I got kind of compelled to help in a physical way. But before I got to where shit was really going down, I stopped at Grand Army Plaza, which is closer to a neighborhood that white people live in, and there was white shit going down out there. There were a lot of black people, and they were standing in front of the police line. And one thing that I saw so much of, it was so fucking compelling, was like, young black people just yelling at the black cops and asking them, like, why are you on that side of the line? And you would see all the other cops, like, fucking pat the guy on the shoulder and stuff, and it would suck them back in. And, you can get a little peek of, like, I don't know, just what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And, but at Grand Army Plaza, like, first there was just this, like, British guy just going off about how, like, all lives matter or whatever. And, like, I'm here to support, but, like, also blue lives also matter and stuff. And he was just, he's just getting fucking yelled at, rightfully so, by this young black guy. I took a video of it. I asked him, hey, can I tweet this? He thought it was funny. He was also, like, he was hilarious. He was a fucking crazy person.
I don't know why anyone thought bringing that guy was necessary, but sure.
Yeah, well, he brought himself, he was like, he had some stupid fucking idea.
I think it's some Royal Crown infiltration. We're using our British allies and their skills for elocution they think they're going to sway people with the charm of their British accents. And I guess
that would work on the libs because they love being yelled at by British people. Like, as soon as they weaponize Harry Potter against the protesters, we lose,
Right. They love NATO.
Yeah. So then after that, like, this fucking woman, man, this is kind of complicated, but, like, this white woman, or actually, I mean, self-described, light-skinned Latina, but, like, white passing, like me, like, took it upon herself to start, like, yelling stuff. And at first it was like, come get a mask, and that's good. You should do that, But then it's like, it turned kind of sanctimonious, where then she just started. The reason I know exactly, like, her ethnic identity is because she told everyone. And we were like, I was like, what the fuck are you, like, why are you doing a podcast about your life right now? Because her point was like, and white people don't understand that we, white passing Latinos are also affected by shit. And like, listen, I'm the first person that agrees with you, but why are you yelling this at a bunch of black people during a protest or whatever? It was really fucking weird. And then I was starting to lose my patience with her. And then eventually she just started going, and you people gentrifying this neighborhood, how many nonprofits do you donate to? And, like,
oh my God.
I was like, oh my God, like, liberals are out here, and they're, this is them in riot mode, like, yelling at people that they need to, support nonprofit organizations and shit. It was really weird. So I just kind of laughed at her, and I kept moving, and I hopped on my bike and I went down through Prospect Park to the other corner of Prospect Park, which is like near Flatbush, like Ocean Avenue and Parkside, because that's where the event was the day before, or earlier, and it's all fucking blur. And I got down there and people were saying fucking Bedford and Snyder, or Bedford and Church Avenue actually is where it got pushed to. They were like, shit's going down, fucking go down there, right? So I showed up, and like the first thing I saw was, I hate this so much. It was literally a dumpster on fire, and like the reason I hate that is not because I love
You
trash.
saw 2016,
Right? Yeah, because I was like, God, this is like the photo. Like when people take those iconic photos.
Oh no.
Oh, Jake, you dropped out for a second there. You should repeat what you were
About
saying.
iconic photos. Right, row.
Oh no, you're still dropped out. I'm gonna hit pause on the recording.
Okay, I was at the dumpster fire part, right? So like, I was looking at this dumpster. I was like, this is gonna be like on the cover of Time magazine. It sucks so fucking hard, This is like just a bit that people still do.
Mm-hmm. Well, they keep happening. They're relevant every time.
True. Uh-oh.
We lose Jake again?
Yeah, no, I mean, sorry, the call got dropped a bunch of times. We were talking about this goddamn dumpster fire. My point being, it was like a bad omen. It was like, 2016 again. Like nothing has changed. This is what people joked about back then, and it wasn't fucking funny then.
Like when you see a blood moon.
Yeah, yeah, like in Zelda. I knew something bad was about to go down, and I was gonna have to fight a bokoblin or something.
Mm-hmm.
So. This happened, and the cops were squared up in front of this fucking gas station, and there was a barricade in the middle of the street, and everything was pretty much just a detente for a little while. And like, dude, everything every once in a while, like a fucking bus would show up and everyone would cheer, because the city buses are hard on the side of the protesters, because they're all, like working class people of color and shit, but also because Sean was talking about this on Twitter the other day. Fucking bus drivers in New York have like a great union that goes far back, and so they're able to show solidarity really hard and know that they won't have any repercussions, because I don't know, you'd have to ask him about it, but like the way he was explaining it, like cops are even a little bit scared of that union. Like they know not to do anything,
Nice.
Why? What could the bus drivers union possibly do to you?
I think it might go back to like mob connections and shit like that, but I don't know.
Okay. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I want to ask him about it. But dude, it was like, I mean, goddamn, like to see a bus like that show up and everyone just cheer. I think the bus driver got out of the fucking bus and got up on the roof and shit. It was fucking tight. Yeah, I mean, God, it was really they're so interesting, because it's the fucking people that the cops are pretending that this is about, showing up and protesting them, right? And so, like, everything was turning into this thing where they're just squaring up and, taking out their clubs and shit, and people are in the front yelling at them and stuff. And then every once in a while, they would just break and they would just start attacking people. And I know they did that shit first. They would just fucking, like, I watched a guy, I got it on film. I have a thread going last night. I think the Majority Report retweeted some of it. If you want to see it, it's like probably on their feed. I've tweeted a million times since this. But I saw a cop run into a crowd of people, just grab a woman like I don't know, like in a cartoon or something, just picked her up over his fucking head, ran back out with her. Fucking 10 cops jumped on this woman. They did all the, knee on the neck shit. And we all thought, they might fucking kill that person. And, they handcuffed her, picked her up, dragged her off. They did this to a couple other people. And yeah, then people started throwing bottles and shit and trash at them. And I mean,
did you feel like they were more aggressive Saturday than Friday?
I don't know. I asked the wrong person, because I didn't really get into the shit the first day. But it seemed like everyone knew what the deal was. Like they showed up planning to do that shit, and they were joking about it later and stuff. Like they know what's going on, So it turns into this thing where they start pushing the barricade, like those big orange construction things you see in the street that they use to like make a little, sidewalk when there's construction. They start pushing those like at protesters and trying to push the line back essentially, and it was weird because it was in an intersection, so it was going really hard in one direction, and I was standing in not that part of the intersection. But then for some reason the momentum just pushed back towards us, and so they formed this fucking line, and like they would do this shit where like they would all just stand there and square up, and then like one cop would just break like a fucking linebacker like straight at you. It was the scariest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life, honestly. Like maybe one of the fucking most terrifying things ever, because everyone knows these people fucking kill people, and like
they're covered in like a foot of armor all over their body, so it's like visually scary.
Yeah, and they would come, they would push people, try to grab anyone they could. Everyone would retreat, backwards a little bit, but the whole point is to hold the fucking line. And so, yeah, after these cops did this, they'd fall back. You see them laughing with each other and shit. And, and I mean, like the one guy almost ran me down the first time was like a black cop. It was really weird, but it's everyone against blue, and I had my bike, right? Because I came out there to take footage, and when I found myself in that situation, I remember the white wall thing, and everyone was yelling white allies to the front and all that shit, and so I turned it sideways and basically was using it to hold a barricade, because there were people, and these things are loosely organized. It's not like there's the head of the protest or whatever, but there were, some people taking charge, some black people, and they were saying like, hold the line. Like, this is the whole point, and also, so this thing they're trying to push about white agitators, I can tell you fucking firsthand, okay? There were people in the protest arguing with each other about whether we should throw shit at the cops, whether we should hold the line, or whether we should retreat. And that argument was not along color lines or gender lines or anything. That is just a fucking unanswerable question about this thing. No one really knows what to do, because it's completely fucking meaningless if you don't fight back at all. But if you fight back a lot, shit's gonna start going down, right? But like, this has to happen. So, essentially, this is when I noticed there weren't enough white people, because the wall was pretty thin, and the whole point of it was to hold up a barricade while these dudes were throwing shit at the cops. And listen, I don't want to romanticize this too much, but these young men out there, I mean, they're protecting their community, and it's fucking cool. Like, it's brave, and they were, dude, the one guy, I'll tell you this, as an ex-fireworks salesman, he brought the good fireworks. He was throwing like mortar shells into these cops.
Like
and
M80s?
No, like the kinds that, okay, so a mortar shell is like the tube you get with the long fuse. You light it, and then it flies up into the air like out of a cannon, and that's what like the iconic image of fireworks, the big Corona thing, the fucking
the Wile E. Coyote firework.
Yes. So usually that's up in the sky, but if you throw it at someone on the ground, it's fucking cool, because that shit just flies everywhere in that like shape, out in like a radius or whatever. So this dude was throwing that shit directly into the cops, spooking the shit out of them. It was great. Fuck those people, And people were like turning over trash cans and stuff to just create barricade, to create, a situation where they couldn't just bum rush everyone. And so I was using my bike by holding it horizontally and, just trying to slow shit up whenever they fucking came at us. So.
Shield bike.
Yeah.
Bike shield.
I didn't invent this. It's a thing.
Mean, cops are doing that too. There's a cop, I forget what city it was, who was just like charging people with his bike. I think it was in Atlanta.
Right. The ancient
Unprovoked.
Spartans actually used to, they would take their bikes, hold them out in front, and then the guy behind you would put his bike over your head and make a bike wall.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Battle of the Bastards with those huge shields.
Right, but with bikes.
Yeah. Yeah. The bike cop, by the way, is my arch nemesis, if you haven't figured this out yet. And like,
I'm waiting to hear what happens to the bike.
it's so funny because I have this thing of just like I've just had a million bikes stolen. I have all these crazy stories about them. If anyone listening doesn't know this, I had a bike stolen. I fucking stole it back. It was like a whole thing, right? Just a weird recurring theme in my life. And I brought that bike out there knowing like I'm probably gonna lose this. It was a distinct
was
possibility.
the bike that you stole back.
No, this wasn't it. This is a different
okay.
one.
Okay.
This is the one
That bike is long gone.
No, actually, I have that at home. It's just
okay.
it's just kind of a piece of shit, so I don't use it much anymore. Just beat to death. It's on the wall. You know what I mean?
It's the idea of the thing.
Yeah. So you know, I mean, I did not go out there going, you know, being precious about my bicycle. I was prepared to lose everything, man, because you know, that's your fucking job, is to protect other people. And also knew, you know, on some level, I could get coronavirus from getting arrested, but we'll get to that later. So, you know, I'm doing this barricade thing, and then they really, really start to charge people. And so people started just fucking making beelines backwards. That clip you saw of me running, that was when that happened. Like, because I was holding it, so I wasn't on it. And then I went, oh, shit, I got to turn around and walk this thing. And then, you know.
It is confusing from the video because it looks like, why is Jake walking with the bike? He should get on the bike.
Right. Well, everything was so, like, shit was going down so hard that I was doing calculus in my head and going, do I have enough time to stop and get on this bike? Or am I going to try to pull some fucking cowboy shit and, like, jump onto this thing from the side? But I don't know how to do that. And if I
Dude,
fucked
you would
it
have
up,
looked so fucking cool if you pulled that off on camera.
yeah, but dude, if I fucked it up, man, I would have had cops jump on me, like, with my legs wrapped up in my bike. I could have really fucked my shit up, you know? So what happened is I got far enough back to where eventually I got a little bit of space and I got on the damn thing and I started biking away from the cops. But there was this white shirt cop who was that's like their you know, the guys who raise all the other White Walkers or whatever. It's
right,
their,
the white
like,
shirt cop is like the orc with the hand on his face.
Yeah, he's like the mini boss or whatever, has higher, you know, HP than them and shit. Also, white shirts is what the cops call those people. Like they have their own lingo and shit.
They have a bike on their front and back.
When when they would grab somebody and all fucking jump on them, the white shirt would come out and start warning everyone else, don't come try to save your friend. Like, fuck you, back off, right? And so that white shirt saw me, I think, doing the bike barricade thing. And when I was biking away, posing no threat at all, at one point, I was fucking pedaling hard, and I was like, why am I not going that fast? Why do I feel like I'm getting slowed down? And I realized this cop had grabbed my shirt, right? And was like trying to fucking unstabilize me and throw me off of my bike. And it was starting to work. And I looked back, and she, check that out.
Lady cop.
Oh my God. This story is full of twists.
Yeah. She was trying to take me down, right? It was this old black lady cop. And and you know, the real enemy, women, right? So so I could tell she was trying to suck me back into like the wall of cops.
Okay. Trying to, never mind.
Shut up. She, you know, the idea was they were going to try to pull me back like into the fray so they could jump on me, and I realized what was happening. And then I did some action movie shit. I don't want to, you know, I'm not going to fucking be humble about this. This is what happened. I fucking came up over my handlebars and was able to land on my feet, keep running, throw the bike backwards. And then this woman fell down in front of me, and I fucking hit my palm on the ground, grabbed her by the arm, got up, all in like a second, and I turned back, and I swear to God, dude, I saw my bike disappear into just like White Walkers, just like a wall of fucking cops. And I knew it was goodbye forever, you know?
Yeah.
But I still had a helmet on, right?
Right, so now you look like a real, you know...
You look like an instigator from this point on, because it looks like no bike. You went in with a helmet, like when you see like Patriot Prayer or people who just go hit people with a flag. They're just wearing a helmet.
Yeah, I think I looked like a fucking Proud Boy. How they look like the first part of a Fallout game where you don't have all the right gear and shit. But honestly, dude, I dodged a couple bricks and shit, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna take this helmet off. Like, shit's really going down, you know. I mean, honestly. I don't always wear my helmet when I'm biking, and now I'm going to wear my helmet all the time. just no matter what I'm doing, because I think it saved my life.
Right. That is an interesting. If you wear a helmet while you're biking, it makes you more of a wimp theoretically. But then when you wear it when you're not biking, that's kind of badass.
You get tougher. You get tougher that way.
It makes you a patriot.
I say that as someone who wears a helmet.
Yeah, you should. So then I'm running, right? And like this just mob of cops is coming after us. And I start to think, fuck, like every once in a while things will die down, you know, and you can kind of get back. And at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave. Like I don't have my fucking tools to do this shit. And like I kind of promised Kate I wouldn't get arrested. And, so I was like, this is now when I should morally like kind of take off because I don't want to become a coronavirus vector and stuff. And but I was exhausted, so like I ducked down into a metro station and used that curvy mirror to look out for cops.
Oh, sick! That's a great use of that mirror.
Yeah,
I mean, love my curvy mirror.
I mean, they would have been able to see me too in theory, but anyway, I waited until they died down a little bit, and then I went back up, and I took a pass, and I didn't really see it, and I was like, okay, it's fucking gone. I did see Sid, my ex-girlfriend, who is a like street medic, fucking in action. I saw her, stitching up some guy's arm after he got.
There was a lot to do yesterday.
Yeah. I said hi, good to see you.
Shout out to NYC DSA medics.
Yes, my fucking homies, man. And so then I started walking back with the group and trying to figure out, okay, like where do I even exit? Do I go down a side street or whatever? And just getting my bearings on me. And I had a backup battery for my phone. So I connected it with the iPhone wire thing, but it's all big fucking, hunko. It's a big rig at that point. So I was holding it in my right hand, just the whole thing, just so I didn't like have, the wires hanging out of my pockets and bullshit, get caught on something or whatever, So I got all this shit in my hand, and I'm just sort of like looking around, trying to figure out how to make my next move. And, then the cycle starts all over, and the cops start squaring up and getting ready to move. And this young black dude next to me threw a bottle into the cops, right? And we were kind of up on the sidewalk, and they looked at us, and I was wearing that fucking helmet, and I turned right when I should have turned left. I turned into the wall. And so I was like, okay, like, I guess my instincts were like hug the wall or something, but the cops came at us so fast.
Right. And you were wearing a golden helmet.
Yeah. And
just to be clear for the listener.
So that dude got away, and I turned, and I realized that a cop had gotten past me, like to where the people were, and I was surrounded. And I felt like I started to keep talking about White Walkers from the bad season of Game of Thrones. But you remember that one when they surround the White Walker? Like I felt like that. Like I was like, oh shit, every direction. Like there's nowhere to go. And me and this cop linked eyes, and they fucking jumped on me, dude. Like 10 fucking people. From that point out, like the sky went black, and it was just all that weird, cheap, like Walmart blue vest material that their fucking uniforms are made from.
Right.
It's all over the place and shit. And they slammed me on the ground, but I was wearing a helmet, right? So I didn't get fucked up that bad. They tased me while this was happening, but they were already beating shit out of me so hard that, like, while all of the stuff was happening, instead of, like, it really sticking out that much, I was just like, oh, that also feels like a taser. Like, it wasn't really that...
You're right. Did you break any, like, bones or anything?
Yeah, how are you doing physically? How's the bod?
I knew I was going to feel like shit the next day. Like, I was so amped up from the adrenaline that...
Yeah,
that I was like, I'm fine. I'm gonna really be hurting, the next morning.
I may have been minorly tased.
Yeah. But I think honestly, the most damage came just from the fucking handcuffs because I have a fucked up wrist, and they don't give a fuck, right?
No.
So they jumped on me. They fucking tased me. They did this shit where they go give me your arm. And they're like on top of your arm, and they just turn into this weird passive aggressive, like, well, why don't you just give me your arm then thing? And you're like,
right.
What?
Why don't you stop hitting yourself?
Yeah.
Why don't you stop hitting yourself?
Cops do not understand the physics of arms. It's insane. It's like, you had one job thing,
Mm-hmm.
So eventually I'm like,
it's
fuck.
An ad for arms. You open an email and it says, cops hate him.
It's Goro. He's got so many arms. So eventually I'm like, yo, I didn't do anything. Fuck, I'm just yelling. I don't even know why I was yelling that. Like, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, by that point they're just there to take their anger out on you.
Yeah. And I was able to get my arm out behind. It was like, oh, they want me to put it behind me, so they put it on the other handcuff. Put it on there, and then they pulled me up. And they start walking me back, like, away from the direction that everything was moving, but up the street. So there's still little patches of people and stuff. And I saw a group of protesters say, hey, who are you? What's your name? And I was like, well, I have this podcast called Pod Damn America. The Patreon is only $5. I'm just kidding. But I like.
Yeah, I was like, you slid a plug in here?
No. No. I told him who I was, and it occurred to me, man, I was like, I felt so bad because, like, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this. When they tackled me, my phone flew the fuck out of my hand. I was like, oh, goodbye to that too. And now I don't have a way of contacting anyone in the jail because you don't get like a quarter anymore in like the payphone, really. They just give you your smartphone back. But I didn't have it, right? So I was like, fuck. And I felt really bad because I wasn't supposed to go to jail. And, Kate thought I was going to come home in like 20 minutes or some shit, right? So I went, oh, wait a minute. If you yell medic, someone I know will show up. Fucking just tell Sid, right? And then she'll know who to tell, right?
Right.
And,
avoid making your girlfriend mad by calling for your ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. I think all of my ex-girlfriends all coordinated last night to help bail me out of jail.
One of them tweeted the photo.
Right. Yeah, they're a block, ex-girlfriend block. They all have to dress the same, but it's because I have a type,
This is like that picture that goes around on the internet of all the hidden labor that you receive through your television and your phone and stuff. And there's like a servant scrubbing a white guy in a chair, but it's just you covered in ex-girlfriends.
I am now declaring the girlfriends of Jake Flores, the ex-girlfriends, to be a terrorist organization.
Hey, pal. You're right about that one. All right, so
it's pretty close to your Nancy Pelosi voice. I don't know why she switched sides on us, but
I didn't have time to. Well, that was Nancy Pelosi, actually.
She's in charge of woman law.
That's right. Yes.
So, man, and honestly, like, this moment when I realized I was going to jail was the scariest moment of this whole fucking thing because the Tombs are a COVID sentence right now. If you go to Rikers or the big holding centers in like downtown Brooklyn, I think you're going to get coronavirus. So I was like, I am going to get coronavirus. But like, part of me was like, it's just this weird thing about coronavirus where you're just like, when am I going to get it?
Right. Well, weren't you a little worried you got it when you were tackled by 10 cops?
Yeah. Especially because the cops won't put on fucking masks. It's crazy.
And they all have it.
Yeah.
You would think they would put on masks because they're already starting to protect their badge numbers because they're getting, identified for doing fucked up shit. But like, I guess it's just a strength thing.
It's an intimidation thing, I think.
It's the same reason Trump won't wear it because it feels like you're a pussy for some reason.
Right,
I don't get it.
Like wearing a helmet on your bike.
It's honestly, yeah, it's like that. Listen, cops, if you wear your masks, I'll wear my helmet when I ride a bicycle. Your job shouldn't exist. Okay, so I'm getting dragged off. I did get recognized by someone in the crowd. That was pretty cool. Shout out to that person. And and then they started walking me off to like a precinct, right? And the cops started doing their dumbass cop jokes. Somebody yelled like, "Hey, what did that guy do?" And one of the cops is like, "I didn't run fast enough." And I said, to one of the cops. Like, people were like trying to get me freed. They were like, let him go, and we'll go home, which I appreciate a lot, you know.
He has an important podcast.
Right, because I yelled medic, someone was like, he's an essential worker. Like, they thought I was another medic, and I was just like,
Sure, yeah,
why not?
Yeah, I'm at the hospital.
I'll lie about my job out of this situation. I'm the president, like, just whatever the fuck. I'm actually a cop, you know. So they start dragging me off, walking me through South Brooklyn to like precinct 66 or some shit, and I was like, hey man, like, I fucking really don't want to get coronavirus. And one of the cops is just like, it's not that bad, I already had it, you know.
Oh dude, I love how they're always on brand.
Yeah, they're idiots. They're so fucking dumb, dude. And they took us into this precinct, and then they said, it's really full. You're probably going to get class C's and get cut loose. And I was like, great. Okay, I'm not going to the tombs. And that's when I started to feel a little bit better. But what they do when they arrest you is they run your license. And if you have warrants out, then you go to jail. And that's what happened to me a lot of the times I've been arrested, is just that, because like, you know, I mean, this cops used to sit in front of my old job and just, it's on a one-way street, but it's like on a corner. So like, no one gives a shit. Every delivery driver in New York goes up one-way streets the wrong way. You're a bike. You just move around shit. It's an understood norm. It's like jaywalking. It's technically illegal, but in practice, it's a norm, right? So they would just sit there and just wait sometimes to catch people doing that by hiding behind shit. And then you'd get a ticket for it. And if you were strapped for cash and you couldn't pay it, it turns into a warrant. And then you're in the system. Yeah. Right? That's how that shit works. It happened to me all the fucking time. And it would eat up all the money I was making working back when I was a lot broker, you know? And so I was like, oh my God, like, this is how I go down. But I think they took money for those warrants out of my stimulus. So cool.
What?
Like, I'm fine, whatever. Yeah. People are getting stimulus checks with like nothing in them. And I was supposed to get money back on my taxes, and they took it all out. So the cop ran my shit, and I looked at him and I was like, how's it look? And he was just like, oh, you're fine. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. I'm going to get cut loose.
But don't the cops at the station hate you because you went to the anti-cop rally?
Right. Okay. So it's weird because in my group, there was like me, there was a white lady, and there was 3 black guys. And as soon as we got into the precinct, they all just changed like their tone immediately. Like the cops. It was really weird. And they're like, you know, black. Some of them are black. Right. And they
hey, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Somebody has to.
That's when they started just like with this shit where they were like, hey, we don't want to be here either, you know, no one more than us doesn't want this to be happening. And I didn't want to be like the annoying person who's speaking to them. I've done that a lot in my life, and like, honestly, I've given up on trying to reason with cops at this point in my life.
Yeah.
But also, there was this guy next to me, this big, tall dude with dreadlocks, who started kind of having a little discourse with the black police officer that was in charge of everything. And he was pretty smart, and I figured, I'm gonna let this guy like handle this. I also think he knew who I was because I mentioned my bike. I asked him if, you know, if there's any chance in hell of me getting my bike back. Everyone laughed. The people that were getting arrested, the cops, everyone laughed at me.
I'm laughing now.
Yeah. Like, I was like, yeah, okay, that was a dumb question. I felt really bad though for the guy behind me because there was another dude who was black who was just working for Grubhub, and they said that they threw him off of his bike, and he was like, I have a delivery like right now. Like, the app is still on. You took my bike. That's how I make my money. Please just tell me where my bike is going to be. That guy, you know, is a more serious version of what I'm talking about. They took his fucking livelihood. I felt really bad for him. So this dude...
Did he ask after you asked, or it was pretty obvious?
I asked after he asked. I went, oh, yeah, me too. Like, after that or whatever. So this dude, the guy on the left of me, I think he knew who I was because when I mentioned my bike was gone, he went, "Oh, you're that capo," and I was like, "Is he saying the thing that Jews call each other, or is he saying Chapo?" And I didn't know, and I still don't know because I did not want.
Maybe you meant like in the mob, like you're a don.
I don't know, but he it was when I said I tweeted that my bike got stolen after it got sucked up into the cops. Yes, I pulled out my phone in the middle of all this to make a joke, right? What are you gonna do?
That's why you went.
Yeah. So I think he might have seen that on Twitter or something. I can't tell because he kept going like, "Oh, I know who you are," kind of but I don't know if he meant it figuratively or literally. So then I was like, "Oh God, okay, here's another fucking possible way I could go down in this is if if any of that Homeland Security shit is still attached to my file. I don't know if it'll show up in like a police thing, but that's police are known for taking people into back rooms and shit like that. That could happen. Or the other thing is, if they Google me, they might think that I had sex with a mentally disabled woman because of all that shit
Right.
the Cumtown subreddit keeps putting on the internet about me, right? And, cops love to – that's like part of their mentality is like, I'm fighting on behalf of the children.
Right.
Cops love to make these like long Facebook posts where it's like, man, if I ever got in the same room as a pedophile, you know what I mean? Like shit like that.
Yeah.
The justified
the human traffickers that they think
They also love fucking looking people up, man. It's their favorite thing.
Right.
I got out of a ticket last summer because I told them I had a podcast or something.
Did you tell them what the podcast was about?
Well, they looked up the Dragon Ball Z one.
Oh, good.
So dodged a bullet there. But there is a picture of a cop, I think, being killed on the cover sometimes. So I was worried.
So, yeah, man. Luckily, though, I think cops are very, like, social media illiterate, which came up. So they tell us the precinct's full. We have to throw you in a paddy wagon, go to another precinct. And it's my understanding from what I learned after I got out that people weren't getting sent to the tombs. Well, maybe they were, but the main thing that everyone knew, all the lawyers knew, is that they were getting a lot of people were getting sent en masse to Police Plaza 1, whatever the fuck that is. I think it's in Manhattan.
Right. That's the one downtown.
Yeah.
It's not great.
The plaza. Like there's
you would definitely get COVID over there.
Yeah. And I don't know what the rules are for who gets sent there and who gets sent to these smaller precincts. But this dude next to me kind of did. It was really interesting. He knew like the processing, details, and he was making every time something would happen, he would go, oh, all right, that's bad. That means that, we might get sent to whatever. And they throw us in this paddy wagon and they just drive in this big circle around Brooklyn. But while we're in the paddy wagon, this dude keeps talking to them, and he's just like, this is when I really kind of just came to the conclusion that like these people are in a cult, like the cops, because he starts asking them about, why you're doing this and what do you think happened to, how do you feel about George Floyd, the whole reason this is all happening. And the cops were saying, you don't understand. When these things happen, there are usually two sides of the argument, but we all agree that what happened to George Floyd was terrible, right? And we're like, okay, well then why are you doing that? And he's like, the cop starts explaining, well, there's a hierarchy within the police. Like, we just have to do what we're told. You want to change people's minds, you got to talk to our bosses and their bosses, and it goes all the way up or whatever. We're just following orders, right? And
we don't have the thetans.
Yeah, it's fucking Scientology shit. They're just like, I'd have to make the butter today or whatever for the group food storage or some shit. They completely divorced themselves from any,
right?
What do you call it? Like just any connection to it, any responsibility.
Right. You take your like whole personality out of it, which is why the job is the problem, right? Like if you're a new socialist, is the first thing you wrap your mind around is that cops aren't bad because they're shitheads. They just are bad and shitheads.
Yeah.
The job is bad. They tell you to crack 10 heads, you go crack 10 heads.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that in the paddy wagon, and I was telling this cop. I had a cop who it seemed like he was a rookie. Like I had one of the funny ones, you know, like one of the little wiener guys. And, you know, he wasn't very intimidating. So I just kind of got a casual conversation with him a little bit. And I was just like, man, I just wish your job didn't exist and you just were like a construction worker, like you were telling me you were before this or whatever the fuck, or a nurse or whatever. And he just kind of seemed like, huh. And that was it. That was kind of the whole conversation.
Oh, they give me a gun for this, though.
Yeah. And dude next to me started talking to them about what happened with George Floyd. And he's like, well, the police started saying, usually, you don't understand. Usually something like this happens, that person gets fired immediately. And we're both like, what do you mean? Like, none of you ever get fired. Like, you kill people, cops kill people and don't get fired, you know? Or he was saying...
And you should be fired for murder.
He was also talking about the white supremacist stuff and the racist stuff, and he was saying, oh, if cop gets, you know, caught being racist or whatever, they get fucking fired and investigated or whatever. And we're all just like, I know that's not true. But the cops were also saying, you know, listen, like, we don't know why you're protesting us. That was the Minneapolis Police Department. They divorced themselves.
NYPD is no blood on its hands.
Right.
They're good guys.
Could not comprehend that this had to do with the concept of cops and not the specific event, which is kind of interesting, I guess, because they have this, you know, I guess the thing that stuck with me was the divorcing of everything, of them just saying, I don't know, I'm just a fucking cog. I stand here. You guys are assholes because, you know, we're just doing our jobs and we didn't kill anyone today, I guess. Yeah, so
did you like give up talking to them at that point or what?
Yeah, I was also just really tired and getting kind of depressed about it, and was just like, I'm just gonna fucking wait this out. I don't.
What time is this generally?
I think it's about midnight, and maybe like I think I got out around 1:30, so I'd say midnight.
Okay.
Yeah, I got lucky. I was not in that long, so yeah, I don't know. I also did not want them to know who I was, and I honestly like. I didn't want to be the white person in the van telling them to donate to nonprofits and shit. This is not my fucking place, you know? So, you know, I just chilled, let that guy do his thing, chimed in here and there, but, you know, tried to take a backseat, I guess. And, yeah, I don't know. It was really interesting because they just completely, like, they were just cracking jokes and shit. And you could tell, like, they're so amped up in the streets. And then as soon as they get back to inside the paddy wagon, they have the air of like The Office or something. Like they're in like a break room. They're just like chilling, cracking jokes or whatever. Trying to crack jokes with us, which I fucking hate when cops do that like stuff where they do a kickflip with you and shit. Fucking stupid, right?
Hey, out there, I'm a different guy. In the break room, I'm a lot of fun.
Because in the streets, dude, it was crazy. You would see them like, I mean, one thing that was really funny, you could tell there are a lot of small men that like take up this job because, you know, you get to hurt people. Yeah, and they want to assert their masculinity and shit. And so like you'd see them like just doing that weird thing that like insecure guys do where they square up their arms, they start breathing real hard with their cheeks all fucking out and shit. And you know, just like I saw a cop holding his baton and just like he looked like a video game character where it's malfunctioning and they're just like he's like moving around with his arms kind of alternatively and shit. It was fucking weird. They were amping themselves up as much as everyone else, which is, you know, I don't want to equalize this because they shouldn't fucking be doing this to begin with, and they have way the advantage. But it was interesting to see them like kind of scared. But then in the cop car, you know, it's so weird. They just go right back to normal. So then we got into this precinct in Sunset Park, and we were, you know, just in line to be processed or whatever, and this woman came in behind us, and she was screaming at the cops, and she was fucking going off, man, about what happened to her. And what happened to her is that she yelled at the cops because they abandoned one of their own, a black officer, and she was telling them, you let this guy get away from you. You need to protect your person. And they responded by smashing her face open with a billy club. And she looked like Andrew WK, dude. It was fucked up. It was still there. It was still bleeding all over her fucking face. And she was screaming. And the smart guy next to me was going like, everyone who's in line behind her is going to have a much longer night than us. He was like, he was right, but I couldn't. Like, I was like, man, she's right though.
After enough trips to the DMV, you just get immune to the numbers, man.
Yeah, right. See, that's the thing about policing is they're trained to have this mindset, or at least project this like air of authority where they can't be questioned on anything. Like they can't, it's Trumpist in a way. It's like they cannot be challenged or have their logic or anything questioned in any way. And if anyone tries to do that, you either ignore it or just attack them.
Yeah. And so it was weird because that guy had to divorce himself from the moment too, you know? Because all of us just want to get the fuck out of there. And also, we were all terrified of fucking coronavirus, you know? And we're getting our arms fucked up from the handcuffs and shit. Eventually, they let her kind of skip ahead. They started saying, you know, who's injured? And, like, the guy next to me says, you know, I got pepper sprayed. Guy after him says, I got hit in the head at the club. And I said, I'm injured of a broken heart. I was cracking jokes in there, folks. And they didn't laugh very hard. That's why I stopped talking too. It was like, man, these fucking jokes aren't landing, you know. I got him
bombing and I'm in jail.
Yeah, I got him a few times, but then I just was like, I don't know.
I tried dancing. The one time I was arrested, I danced in the holding cell, and that did get a smile out of the woman who was holding us.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was all worth it then.
So, yeah, I mean, at one point, some white woman, this is a really interesting thing. A white woman cop was just talking down to a bunch of black kids, like teenagers, about how they should have stayed home and shit. She was doing, you know, Karen shit or whatever. There was a German police officer with the accent and a helmet. That was very jarring.
Did he have the big fluffy mustache?
He might as well have. It was so weird. I was like, man, why did you get this job? It's such bad branding. There was also a dude next to me who got into a conversation with his officer who was an Eastern European woman. And she was talking to him about how she's like, you guys don't understand. I also get it. I've also had struggles in my life, but I just worked hard. When I first came to America, people were mean to me about my accent. And I started laughing, and she was like, why are you laughing? And I was like, it's not the same. But then honestly, the dude was like, oh yeah, no, we're all in this together and shit. Like, he had a better heart about it than me. You know what I mean?
Being murdered is like having an accent.
Yeah, it's not at all, you idiot. You're going to murder her in the street because she talks like Dracula? It's not going to happen, man. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically kind of where it ends. Like, eventually I got out and, you know, I was just in Sunset Park, but I was on I just had to walk an hour north, and then I was at the place I'm staying, and I didn't have my phone or anything. So I grabbed a fucking 6-pack and just walked up the street. It's legal-ish to drink in New York now, and if they arrested me again, I was just going to be like, just kill me, you know? Fuck this, you know?
Dude, and you got to play your odds there because they're all across town defending their vans being lit on fire. You can probably get drunk in public.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit. I mean, it's been normal, like, since coronavirus. Like, I mean, bars are selling, like, drinks out the window and shit, you know? But anyway, yeah, I got back, and I'm feeling all right today. I don't think I'm permanently injured, other than my wrist is probably more fucked up than it was before. Yeah, but this thing where I can't really do push-ups and shit on it anymore. Like, I think I did nerve damage to it with my handlebars, honestly, just from working on that bike so much. But I'm okay, and I'm just very sore and stuff. But I'm also, like, want to let people know as much as possible. A lot of people hooked me up with money to replace my shit, and I'm good. Don't send me any more money. Send that shit to Bailout NYC May on Venmo, and don't send it to Bailout NYC. Send it to the one with the word May at the end of it. If you send it to the original one, they'll send you your money back, but you know, you don't want to make them work anymore. They're already working. So I'll link in the show description, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I'm glad to have taken one for the team. And my ultimate takeaway from this is, like, you know, if you want to talk about this white agitator shit, it's not real. I mean, it's happened, you know. I've been at protests before where a bunch of white people show up and they're the ones yelling whose streets, our streets, and they're making it about them and whatever, and it's annoying, but it's not a defining feature of the situation. But
it's not the problem with the situation,
right? And honestly, dude, a young black dude next to me threw that bottle at that cop, and I got taken down for it, and I'm glad to have done it, because the whole point of this shit is to take up space in the system that dude would have been sucked up into, and it would have affected his life a lot more than it would affect mine. I'm already unhireable. You can't Google me. I have to be a comedian or I'm just homeless or whatever. So I don't fucking care. I'll get arrested as many times as it takes, you know? And yeah, it's just not, don't listen to these goddamn liberals. There's, I think, I don't know, I'm not going to quote or cite yet, but there's information about this, all right? We needed to dispel this myth, I guess, what I'm getting at.
Right. It's being used, even if, no matter who you are, if you're on the side of the protesters or whatever against the police, this will impact you negatively because it's been used to delegitimize the movement from from a media perspective, and legally, Trump today declared Antifa a terrorist organization. So this is only going to be bad news for anybody who wants to speak out in any way against police brutality.
Dude, if you've been paying your dues to the National Antifa, really just, check in with your loved ones, make sure everything's in order. The organization will be reaching out to you shortly.
Please donate to nonprofits like Antifa. But I forgot to mention, now you bring that up, the cops that arrested me all had counter-terrorism uniforms on, so I guess that's what they thought they were doing. Like, and it wasn't goddamn Antifa out there, really. It was a bunch of people that lived in the goddamn neighborhood. So that's what they're doing. They're calling you a terrorist. They're defining you legally as a terrorist now for defending your own fucking neighborhood.
Right. And it's just, in Minnesota, right, we've had the governor said the other night that 80% of the protesters were from out of state. Just totally pulled this number out of his ass. It's being reported as fact. It's being shared by liberals in Minnesota as fact. The mayor of St. Paul, a guy who I used to rent videos to, he said that all of the protesters arrested in St. Paul the other night were from out of state. Total lie. It was totally made up. According to him, he walked it back, but it doesn't really matter because people aren't going to remember the walk back. They're going to remember the initial statement.
Well, they're also going to not remember the exact details of this. They're just going to think of it as a thing. It's a resentment they're building, and it really, really works as a propaganda tactic, because I think what's going on here, the reason it's so effective on liberals, is because what it does is it's a really clever way to repackage everything that's going on in a way that enables liberals to delegitimize the actual protests, because a liberal does not want to think of people of color as the people that are agitating. Right. They, mythologize Martin Luther King's pacifism, but everyone else in that milieu was not that pacifist. And MLK himself wasn't really, like, all the time. It was just a particular tack he took. And they don't tell you, Selma is the thing that keeps getting brought up. Like, they keep sharing that picture of Selma and saying, this is a protest, this is not a riot or whatever. It's like, why can't you look like this or whatever? One of those fucking things, a meme.
Right.
But the thing is, Selma broke out into fucking violence. It's there's a really selective myth that, I don't know, white pseudo-intellectuals in America like to cling to, which is that somehow we moved past the question of violence in the 60s, and now everyone understands that peaceful protest is the only way to work. And doesn't that seem awfully convenient for the people that don't want to get their shit burned down for this reason?
Right. And also just like how much of that is because you think it's true strategically, and how much of that is because it asks less of you tactically?
Yeah. All you have to do is go stand there. Oh, sounds fucking great. No, bitch.
Right. I'll make a really clever sign. I'm so good at it.
You have to throw yourself in the front of the line, get fucking tackled by a bunch of homicidal maniacs, and possibly get sent to a poison castle. That's what you have to do if you want to help out. Otherwise, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. It's gonna be happening more and more. So props to you, Jake. Thanks for taking one for the team, man. I'm so glad you're not in jail. I was really worried about you.
I am kind of a hero.
I mean, this shit, and it's not just going to be about. I mean, I'm sure the police brutality protests are going to continue, but like with COVID, the lack of response, with the ensuing economic crisis, like there's going to be a lot of other shit that's going to send people into the streets. You know, so it's time to get our priorities straight and just stop buying into these essentialist myths about white people be like this, black people be like protest like this. You know, it's like it's a hackneyed old stand-up act.
Yeah, it is. It's the guy from the Simpsons who's miming how white people drive their car.
Yeah,
right.
Except this is the way they protest, or yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing with like this mythologization of this like Bernie bro thing about everyone who supports left politics is white and racist or whatever. Completely fucking, it's complete bullshit. Right. You're arguing with Cornel West. What are you doing?
How much of you arguing against Bernie bros or against protesters is legitimately out of racial dishonor, somebody else committing a race crime, and how much is you just being uncomfortable with somebody else taking action?
Yeah, and honestly though, like there is a big conversation that needs to be had in terms of just why is all of this happening? What is the protest? What is a riot? No one can really seem to place that in the fucking paddy wagon either. And, I mean, we talked about this with Chad on the last episode or whatever, but like a big part of like the concept of rioting is it's not what liberals think it is. Liberals, I think, understand it as to be the protest gone wrong. Like, peaceful protest would have happened, but then tragically a riot broke out. Riots, fucking, it's no one went there to start the fucking riot, but if it's gonna happen, it serves a purpose, and that's to show you that the police don't control whether or not there's peace. The people do. And that illustrates the uselessness of the job of police. Like we were talking, this job doesn't need to exist.
Hey everybody, it's Alex. That's the end of our episode. Hope you enjoyed it. It's good talking to Jake, who's a little technology deprived right now, computer and phone wise. He wanted to say that if you are interested in supporting the protests, send money to @BailoutNYCMay on Venmo, or find the appropriate bailout fund in your city. Don't send us any more cash. Jake is good. Please don't send Jake any more cash. He's a little piggy, and he deserves to be punished. All right, that's it for us. Keep listening for a PSA on protest safety by Channel Zero, the podcast network. And above all, you stay safe out there. All right.
As protests heat up, the Channel Zero network has some reminders on how to stay safe while out in the streets.
Bring buddies and don't let them out of the range of your voice.
Write a legal aid number on your bodies so you can get help if you get arrested. Be sure to know your buddies' legal names and birthdays. You'll need these to help find them if they're arrested.
When moving around, walk, don't run. Stick together.
Turn off your phone while out in the streets to avoid surveillance of your location, and so as not to have your unlocked phone taken by the authorities or other bad actors.
Try your best not to stick out in a crowd. Cover up tattoos with clothing or body paint. Cops will use footage from the protest to try to identify you.
Wear clothes that are good for moving quickly. Avoid wearing jewelry and wear closed-toed shoes.
Wear your mask at all times, even if you're talking to someone, in order to guard yourself against surveillance, COVID-19, pepper spray, and tear gas.
Avoid wearing contact lenses. Bring goggles of some kind in case of tear gas or pepper spray.
Consider wearing bike helmets, as police often cause head injuries with batons and other weapons.
Don't take photos or videos of people doing anything illegal or with their faces uncovered. Whenever possible, film the cops, not the protesters.
Only put water in your eyes. Don't use milk or baking soda or anything else. Clean water is the safest thing to use at a protest. If possible, bring a water bottle to drink from and a water bottle to flush out the eyes of any comrades who are maced or tear gassed.
And white comrades are encouraged to follow the lead of black and brown comrades as they bear the brunt of state brutality.
Follow Unicorn Riot and Channel Zero Network member It's Going Down for ongoing updates.
The Channel Zero Network sends you all solidarity.
Stay safe out there and never stop fighting for a better world.